بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back to our 20th class on Nahu. And today we'll start a new chapter inshallah ta'ala. We are on Al-Wahdatul Khamisa, the 5th chapter, Ad-Darsu Sabi', the 7th lesson in the book. The title of this next text is رحلة بالقطار. All of these words we know by this point. We know that رحلة means a journey or a trip, right? From we've had a few chapters that mentioned رحلة الاستعداد لرحلة, like from the Sarf book and so on and so forth. It means to take a trip. So رحلة, a trip. By القطار means train. Al-Qitar means train. As you see in the picture here, the boy is sitting with his father in a train. So Rihlatun bil-Qitar. And look at that boy, how he's got his legs over there stretched out, right? So this whole text, his father's going to give him nasiha about that. Teach him a lesson. Naam, alhamdulillah, a good lesson about not inconveniencing others and so on and so forth. So it's a nice story, mashallah. So رحلة بالقطار, a trip by train. So let's look at الكلمات الجديدة, the new words. The first word we have is متجاورٌ. So we have متجاورٌ. Now, mutajawirun has a meaning. It could mean adjacent, if that's how you spell it, wallahu a'lam. Or, next to, and even joined, right? Mutajawirun. Then the next word we have after that is al-muhadhabu. Muhadhabu. Al-muhadhab. Al-muhadhab means someone who is polite and well-mannered. So we'll put well-mannered. Well-mannered. Al-muhadhab. Then we have a fi'l after that. ضايقا يضايق. ضايق. From فَعَلَ يضايق. Right? ضايق يضايق. ضايق يضايق is it means to inconvenience somebody, to annoy them even when you look at it. To annoy or inconvenience someone. Make things difficult on somebody. Okay? ضايق يضايق. And if you remember from this wasn't فَعَلَ يُفَاعِلُ, it takes two parties involved. If you remember when we did the conjugation of ضايق يضايق, or of فَعَلَ يُفَاعِلُ, sorry. It involves two parties. Okay? So those are the new vocabulary words that they gave us. Now al-mustalahat al-jadida, the new terms, the new terminologies dealing with this chapter. This first word, ziyadatul alifi wan noon. Ziyada means extra. Okay, extra. Or an addition of the alif and noon. The alif and noon, the letters. So an extra alif and noon. Ziyadatu al-alif wan noon. Then we have a fi'l here. حذف يحذف. It means to omit or delete. So we have ziyadatu al-alif wan noon, to add an extra alif wan noon. حذف يحذف. It means to delete. And here it's going to be talking about deleting a noon. Deleting the noon from a word. So this chapter focuses on two things. dear brothers? Two things. Number one, it focuses on, and a while back we took the Muslimun chart, if you remember. Okay. Muslimun chart. And number two, it focuses on the you could say the muthanna, the dual words when they are mudaf, but we will say it focuses on the how can I put this? Yani, because earlier I taught this class also, but I use it a little bit different. But here we'll add a little bit. We'll say deleting the noon. Deleting the noon from Annie and Una. Annie and Una. And also Aini and Ina. Okay, so deleting the noon. So it's going to focus on deleting the noon, okay, from Annie or Una when the word is, if you remember this, idafa. When the word is idafa, meaning mudaf mudaf ilayh. And we're going to go through examples, so don't worry if you forgot right now. Okay, so real quick, we took the vocab. زيادة الألف والنون in the مصطلحات, it means an extra alif and noon. حذف يحذف means to delete. Two main things this chapter is focused on is the Muslimun chart, which we are going to get into right now as a review, and deleting the noon from words that have an ani or una at the end when that word is idafa, in a idafa construction, when it's mudaf to a mudaf ilay. Don't worry, we're about to go to the next page and explain everything. So what do we mean by the Muslimun chart? This one. As you see, the first row is mufrad. The first row is mufrad right here, where you see it, I'm pointing at. Mufrad, which means singular. Second word is muthanna, which means dual. And then jam'un, which means plurals. So this first chart, we've taken it before, is for masculine. So we have the first word muslimun. What I want you to focus on is the ending here. Dhamma, muslimun. So what we want to say is whenever a masculine word is singular, it's mufrad. Okay? And it has two dhammas on the end, that word is called marfu'. It takes the ruling of marfu'. All words by default are marfu'. Something has to come and make it mansub or majroor. So we say muslimun, the dhamma at the end means it's marfu'. Like for example, when we studied the fi'l, right? A fi'l has a fa'il. The fa'il, if it's shown, like if we say kataba Muhammadun kitaban, Muhammad wrote a book. Or ja'a Muhammadun, Muhammad came. Or ja'a Zaydun, Zayd came, right? Zaydun, we would say. So every fa'il is also marfu', right? So that's the importance of this, knowing who is marfu' and what are the signs of marfu'. So muslimun, we say it is marfu', and wa alamatu raf'ihi, the sign of it being marfu' is ad-dhamma at the end. Then when something comes and makes it mansoob, something has to come and make it mansoob. One of the things that can come is the harf inna. So if inna comes before muslim, you can no longer say muslimun, you have to say musliman. Okay? And also, whenever something's maf'ul bihi, the object of a verb, it takes a fatha. If it takes a fatha, the ruling on it means it's mansoob. So we say muslimun, musliman. A singular word that is mansoob will have a fatha to indicate it's mansoob. Then we did muslimin, majroor. So if ala is before muslim, ala muslimin, we would have to say. Things come and change the word to make it majroor with a kasra. So we say muslimin. In a singular masculine word, the sign of a word being majroor is a kasra at the end. So muslimun, musliman, muslimin. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. That's how we memorize it. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. We did this a while back. Then muthanna, a dual word, we would then add any. We would add any to the end. We would add any to the end to make it a dual word. Any word. Kitab, for example. It's a masculine word. It means a book. Kitabun. If we want to say two books, we would say kitabani. Kitabani. So we add the ani at the end. The alif. Alif al-muthanna, if we remember. This alif, part of ani, this alif is the alamatu raf'. It is the sign of the word being marfu'. It's this alif. We don't say alif and noon because this noon can drop. It can drop. And we will take examples. When does it drop? That's what this chapter is about. So if we say ani, we know it's a dual word. And it is marfu' because of the alif. That's what we say. Because of the alif, لأنه مثنى. Because it is a dual word. Because it is a dual word. Likewise, if something comes and makes a mansub, we say muslimaini. We add the aini, if you remember, at the end. Since we add the aini, we say the ya is the sign of that word being mansub. And the same thing for majroor. If something comes and makes the word majroor, we say muslimaini. That ya in muslimaini is alamatu jar. It is the sign of that word being majroor. Being majroor. And remember, the noon can drop. So we would memorize it like this thus far. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. Then we get into jam'un. Jam'un mudhakkar salim. Jam'un means plural. And we know it is 3 or more people. Anything above 2, it is plural in the Arabic language. However, this chart with these additions at the end only applies to, number 1, people. People. So you can't put una, ina, or ina to non-human beings. Okay? So this only goes for people and masculine people. Number 2, it can also be used, you can make a plural for angels using una, ina, and also jinns. Also jinns. So this last chart, this jam'un, only this section, these 3 words, the endings can only be used for people, angels, or jinns. You don't use them for objects, non-human things or animals or something. No. Okay? So in order to move muslimun, if we want to say a bunch of Muslims, we say muslimuna. Muslimuna. We add the una at the end. And the sign of it being marfu' is the waw. Waw al-jama'ah tells us that this word is marfu'. That this word is marfu'. If something comes and changes this plural word into mansub or majroor, both are the same. We change it to muslimina. Muslimina. And that ya there is alamatul nasb wa alamatul jar. It is the sign of the word being mansub or majroor according to the context. You know that if it's majroor or mansub by what it's doing in the sentence and what came before it and so on and so forth. Okay? And this is all just a review. We should have this in our memory bank from before, inshallah. So we memorized it like what? Like this. Muslimun, musliman, muslimin, muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. That is for the masculine chart. Then we did the same for the feminine chart down here. Feminine words. So we say muslimatun. A singular feminine word is marfu' by the dhamma at the end. If it's mansub, we will put a fatha at the end. Muslimatan. A singular feminine word shows it being mansub by a fatha at the end. Muslimatin is majroor, and it shows that it is majroor by the kasra at the end. Again, this is for feminine words. That's why there is a ta marbuta at the end. If we want to make a feminine word dual, we add tani at the end with a ta. We open up the ta and add tani at the end. So we say muslimatani to mean 2 Muslim women. Muslimatani. Right? From that tani at the end, the alif, just like it was in the masculine chart, the alif here, where I'm highlighting, the alif here or I have my pointer on, is the sign of that feminine word being marfu'. That feminine dual word being marfu'. If something comes to make it mansub or majroor, we say muslimatayni. The tayni gets added at the end, and that ya is a sign of it being mansub, and likewise that same ya is a sign of it being majroor, depending on what it's doing in the sentence. Depending on what it's doing in the sentence. Likewise, jam'un, here's where things get tricky for a lot of people. The jam'un muannath salim, meaning a group of females. A group of females, 3 or more. In order to say 3 or more women or Muslim women, we say muslimatun. So we add that atun at the end. The dhamma for a group of females shows us that it is marfu'. Shows us that it is marfu'. When we go to mansub, this is why it's tricky. Muslimat has now 2 kasras. Muslimatin. So depending on what it's doing in the sentence, if it is maf'ul bihi or so on and so forth, then we would say it's mansub with a kasra. It's mansub with a kasra. Normally, kasra shows us that a word is majroor. But here in jam'u muannath salim, in a feminine plural word, we show that the word is mansub with a kasra at the end. And likewise, majroor, same thing. Muslimatin, kasra shows that it's majroor. And you can know the difference between the context. What is it doing in this sentence? So we also memorized these before. Muslimatun, muslimatan, muslimatin. Muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini, muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. If you put this in the memory bank, maybe you didn't do it the first time. If there's someone out there, now is the time to do it again. This will help solidify the alamatu al-i'rab, the alamatul i'rab, the signs of i'rab, the sign of a word being, marfu', mansub, or majroor. Right away, when you memorize this chart, you just go back to this chart and you think, okay, that's a dual word, and it's marfu' or mansub or majroor, depending on what it's doing in the sentence. So it has a very important part. All of that being said, we are talking about taking out the noon. Taking out the noon. Let me give you guys some examples of what do we mean taking out the noon. Okay, so if we have a word like kitabun. Kitabun. Right? It's one. We put kitabun at the end. Okay? It means a book, right? But if we wanted to say his book, we add a hu at the end. Hu at the end, and the final result would be what? Kitabuhu. Kitabuhu. His book. If you remember when we did attached pronouns in the sarf book. Kitabuhu. His book. Right? This is a idafa construction. This is mudaf. And the hu here is mudaf ilay. Mudaf ilay. Right? Kitabuhu, his book. His book. طيب, what if we wanted to say his 2 books? So we would change kitab into, we would say kitabani. Now we have to add the ani at the end. Kitabani. That ani lets us know that it is 2 books. But we want to say his 2 books, so we have to add the hu at the end, right? So let's say we would say, and this is incorrect, but if we were to put it together just for visuals, kitabanihi. In Arabic, we say no, that's not allowed. Whenever you have a dual word or a plural word that has the alif and the noon or the waw and the noon at the end, the noon has to drop if it's in a idafa construction. So the final result is, since we drop the noon, we get kitabahu. Kitabahu. See? You just drop the noon. Whenever it's in idafa. Whenever it's in idafa. Okay? Another example would be, let's say, a verbal sentence here. Let me erase this real quick. A verbal sentence. Let's say I say جاء. I say جاء, which means came, right? جاء. And let's say I say مجتهد. Mujtahid means the hard worker. Mujtahidun. The hard worker came. Okay? The hard worker of what? I want to say the hard worker of the class. Of the classroom. Okay? So this is idafa. Now I'm going to put these two together. So we're going to say جاء مجتهد الصف. So this means the hard worker of the class, of the classroom, came. جاء مجتهد الصف. مجتهد الصف is مضاف مضاف إليه. Just by looking at it, you see the first word has no alif lam and no tanween, and the second word has alif lam, which we've done many times this exercise. You put of in the middle. If it fits, go for it. It's idafa construction. The hard worker of the classroom. The classroom's hard worker. Okay? طيب. Now if we want to say what? Let's say we want to make mujtahid plural. The hard workers of the classroom. So mujtahid becomes mujtahiduna. So if we wanted to say the hard workers came, we would say جاء mujtahiduna. Some hard workers came. Mujtahiduna, right? But if I want to say the hard workers of the class, here's the point here of this dars. جاء مجتهدو الصف. الصفي. مجتهدو الصفي. What do? We eliminated this noon. We eliminated the noon. So basically the rule here is whenever you have an idafa construction and the word ends in a ani, aini, aini, or una, ina, that noon drops. That noon drops. These noons right here. Let me highlight them for you guys. These noons right here are all droppable when they are the mudaf of a mudaf ilay, the mudaf of an idafa construction. Those 6 noons, and also these here for feminine chart, these 3 in the middle. So these 9 noons drop. Everything in the middle, muthanna, whether it's masculine or female, the noon drops. Likewise, in the masculine chart for jam'un, for plural, the noons drop. So all those noons drop. Wherever there's a noon in these 2 charts, it can drop whenever it is a mudaf in an idafa construction. Okay? So that is, inshallah ta'ala, today's lesson. That all those noons can drop when it is a mudaf in an idafa construction. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll keep it short like this. So for those that forgot these charts, they can re-memorize it tonight, inshallah. The Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin, Muslimani, 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 Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina chart, and the Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin to the end. Re-memorize those and know that whenever those dual words or that plural for the masculine word comes, that noon drops whenever it is mudaf in an idafa construction. That is the point. And tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, when we get back, we will start reading directly from this text. And we will translate tomorrow. So I want you guys to pre-read this before coming into class. Read it and try to figure out what's going on. You know most of these words. You know safara, you know bilqطار, ma'a abihi. Then look here, وَجَلَسَ, جَلَسَ. You got to go back to your sarf. What is jalasa, right? Obviously, it's huma for 2 people. وَجَلَسَ, huwa jalasa, huma jalasa, hum jalasu. Remember when I told you in this series, these rules are going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating. It'll come again later and so on and so forth. to make you well-rounded and not forget anything, inshallah ta'ala. So do that, inshallah. Rememorize the chart and know that whenever those noons come in an idafa construction, you drop the noon if it's mudaf, and prepare for tomorrow for this these translations, inshallah. Try to read through the text as much as you can and make out as much as you can from it, inshallah ta'ala. Yani Ukasha, Sheikh Ahmed, Sheikh Abdul Rahman, Jeffrey, Sheikh Ayub, Abdul Haq, our brother Rahim, and Sheikh Unku. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you all for joining us tonight, and the ones who couldn't make it, may Allah bless them as well. I know Yunus is traveling back home. Gando's probably working. So I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless all you brothers for staying consistent through this program, man. And inshallah ta'ala, I ask Allah that you see the fruits of it very soon, inshallah, very soon. So stay on this path, inshallah, of seeking ilm. Let's complete this program no matter how long it takes. No matter how long it takes. Let's not drop it. Because even though Shaykh al-Albani was talking about this manhaj and this path, what did he say? The goal is not to reach the end, the finish line of the race. The goal is to die while you're still in the race. Subhanallah. So let's just keep, whenever there is class, we come to it and we seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah bless all of you. Ameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاكم الله خير. نعم شيخ.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Get some sleep.
Yeah, inshallah I will. Yeah, you're right. Subhanallah.